Example, we played one time, sat me on the bench. We're getting killed by some team. They said, since the game's over, Bobby, go in. We beat the team by 20. Next game, they didn't play me.
Welcome to I Quit My Job, highlighting those extraordinary journeys of those who decided to take that leap of faith, not knowing where they're going to end up, but knowing they have that dream and that passion to actually complete their project or idea. I'm Slowly Plus One, and in today's episode, we're speaking about the entrepreneurial side of basketball, from a player to mentor, pro basketball, a business career. We're going to speak with Bobby Allen, a Canadian legend in high school basketball, averaged like nearly 50 points a game in high school, JUCO All-American, finished his career at Texas Pan American. So in this episode, we're going to really talk about his journey, challenges, turning points, the mindset shift from a pro player to now an entrepreneur. Let me introduce you guys to Bobby. Bobby, thank you so much, bro. Thank you so much, man, for showing up and
No problem.
blessing us on this afternoon. Share a little thing, man. You're Bobby. Like, what do you remember about like the early days of basketball?
I just remember that I didn't know what I was going to do with basketball. And I
Right.
saw a whole bunch of really good players. I probably got my ass kicked,
Mm,
but I like getting my ass kicked because then I just go back and work on it. So
right.
you could probably tell a story about beating me, but if it did, I'm very competitive about it, and I would go back and practice.
So you're like a Malton legend, brother. You put Malton on the map in basketball them times. There's no kid that wouldn't say Bobby Allen, Bobby Allen. What was that? What was that moment like, and how did that feel? Before we jump into it.
Yes, I grew up in Malton. I was going through a lot of stuff. It wasn't thinking about NBA or NCAA or anything. It was just like I had a lot of problems going in my life. So instead of going to crime or anything, I just fell in love with just playing basketball by myself. People would tell you, you always saw this guy behind Westwood by himself. It went from a lot of pain to now I'm Bobby Allen. But
Right.
at one time, this guy with low self-esteem and all that. So
Yeah.
it went from a negative thing to a positive thing.
Amazing transition. So let's jump right into it, man. Everybody knows your basketball journey is a very legendary career, but then also you made a greater leap. You decided to become a mentor, opened up your own Bobby Allen Skills Academy. So take us through that moment, man. What was that like when you just, said, hey, I'm going to make this transition? Explain how you did that, brother.
Okay. A lot of players, even before I started, even when I was in high school to junior college to pro, Team Canada, all that stuff, I used to come back in town and talk to everybody. And I just felt it was my duty to do that. I never said, well, look, this guy could be better than me. It was like, no, man, I got to help this guy. When I came back home, now I'm fully done. I kind of lost the love of being around people. Because, you're playing in front of people all the time. Everyone just kept bothering me about, yo, you got to do this. There's a lot of people that's doing it and they don't have the experience that you have. One day I just said, let's do this.
What was that defining moment?
It was frustration. I was watching a lot of basketball. I was hearing about a lot of basketball. And I just said, you know what? I got something I can give back. And it was frustration because my buddy was telling me, oh, there's guys out there teaching kids and they didn't even play basketball. They don't even know basketball. And it bothered me. I was like, all right, let me put my spin on this. You understand? So it's like somebody teaching a kid how to dribble the ball with 3 balls and all these moves. And all you have to do is just read the defense.
Mhm.
So I said, well, let me give my spin on this. I play professional basketball. I led Team Canada in scoring. I have to have something.
Something.
You know what I mean? So I said, okay, let's do this. And that was it.
So starting your Skills Academy, what were like some of the challenges you faced early? Because remember, you're coming out the gate.
All right. So you come out early. You expect everybody to come to your academy. They know who you are. You're Bobby Allen. People came, but then, you know me. You're cool with boys. Now you don't want to pay. You get it? So everyone's there. The gym is packed. People ain't paying. It's like, well, how am I supposed to run this thing if I can't pay rent? You know what I'm saying? So I kind of lost some people because I was like, look, dog, your money's due and you're not paying. And well, Bobby's all about money. I'm thinking, this doesn't make
Really?
any sense. You know what I mean? So it was kind of awkward at first, man. It's a business, right?
So is that part of your first day of stepping into that chapter, going from a basketball player now to an entrepreneur?
3 kids and a wife, man.
Right,
You're like,
right,
so
right,
you're,
right.
you're telling me that I'm supposed to do all this for free. I got to pay a guy rent. I got to have, and I'm not doing it to get rich.
Right.
It's not, I'm not trying to rob anybody, but really, so the first while I was like, I think I made a mistake.
And what was the biggest surprise in all of that? Like when you were doing that transition versus being a player?
Being a player is a joke, man. You just go, you kill, and I've heard stories of people don't get paid, but when you're killing everybody, you get paid.
Right.
So I just kept that like I'm killing everybody, I get paid.
So that was the hustle.
I
Those
just
more
play good,
products.
I get my money. But with basketball, you can put your heart into it, and then some parent would look at you and say, well, you know what? I don't have it. And I do it with my heart. I love basketball.
Right.
But it's still a business.
Right. So how did you get parents and all that to buy into your vision?
Most of the people that came as friends and whatever, they cleared out, who were coming to get their kid better, and they didn't know me.
Was this a afterthought, or did you think about this going into?
I didn't think about it going in. All I thought about was, I'm gonna do this. I love basketball, and it made me think about stopping it. Once the rush of people that wasn't paying left, it's been pretty good for 14 years.
So in some of those challenges, you ever thought about quitting? And
Yes.
saying, yo,
100%.
I'm done.
100%.
So what made you push on?
Then there's a competitive side, because I've heard from people that, what does Bobby know about teaching basketball? I'm like, played at a high level. But I get it. There's people out here that played a high level and they're not good coaches.
Right.
But I've always been a coach. I've always loved basketball. There's people that will tell you, when Bobby was in grade 11 or grade 12, he would help me. When Bobby was coming back from in town, he'd help me. So I always had that in me.
Right.
I just never wanted to be a coach. I always wanted to just teach.
What would you say to the young athletes and coaches right now that are trying to, get into the game of basketball and become an entrepreneur inside of that?
Do it with your heart. If you do it with your heart, you can't fail. When I played as hard as I could. If you played against me, you knew this he's coming at me. Say I have 6 kids in the gym. Every one of those kids know that I'm helping them. I'm not just helping the best player in the gym. It's down to the worst player in the gym. And I'm holding everybody accountable. I love this. I like seeing people progress. I love that. It's amazing to me.
Wow. So now that we kind of know a little bit behind your basketball and behind the entrepreneur side of it, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, how would they go about doing that?
It's easy. BobbyAllenSkillsAcademy.com. Message me through my website. If you're not serious about basketball training and trying to get your kid to the next level, don't come to me.
So basically, you're trying to get them to a level. So the parents got to know that this is where they want to
There's
go.
no way I can play at a certain level and then now just play around with kids in the gym.
Right.
Like, I want to get your daughter to the WNBA. I'm trying to get your son to the NBA.
So it's not like, here, let me just bring my son for a tryout and see what happens. And if he
You got to
doesn't
be
make it-
serious. Like, let's go, man. Because I see what we have here. Let's go, man. I love basketball, and this is my way to give back. I played at a very high level,
Mm.
and I want these kids to play at a higher level than I ever played.
How did you start that pro career, knowing it was so early, even to have an agent and finding those things? How did you go about, like, at that time?
To play pro ball,
Yeah.
I played at Texas Pan American. There was a whole bunch of things that happened before that, but I played
Right.
Texas Pan American,
Mm.
and I averaged 17. I led the conference in field goal percentage. The team that we played, I just played that for my last year. The year before, they were 2-20-something.
Mhm.
When I got there, we had the best record in the conference. I finished that year. Nothing happened. Didn't get drafted. I went and played out in Regina, Saskatchewan. I had a guy named Carl Fix.
Mhm.
Shout out to Carl. He had a team that was bringing us to North Dakota, South Dakota. And then I came back for the next year for Team Canada. I tried out.
Right.
And they're like, who are you now? You know what I mean? Because you're out of sight, out of mind. Nash is there. Rowan is there. I led the team in scoring. People are like, this guy's an NBA player. I played in tournaments, Argentina, where people are like, you're one of the best players in the tournament. Oscar Schmidt is there. I'm killing everybody. And then my first year, I get offered a really good amount of money in Philippines, and then everything started.
Where's that connection between you're doing well and then the Philippines approaches you? Like,
We played the NBA Summer League, and NBA scouts started looking at me, and then an NBA scout was like, yo, first of all, you're really good. And then there's also a league. And so most of the guys that was in Philippines were guys that's going to NBA or ex-NBA guards, exactly like me. So they started me with that. It was an NBA scout that sent me.
No.
It wasn't an agent, it was an NBA scout.
NBA scout. So you're just that confident on your skill set to know that, yo, I'm going in there and making it, or was there an offer already on the table?
I already signed my contract before
Okay.
I got there. And then this big story behind this was they gave me a good contract my first year. The next year, they doubled it.
When I saw you and it clicked, like, it was a summer tournament. And I remember it was a Bathurst tournament. You were just going off every possession, boom, driving, boom. And the team you're playing was some vet. But those guys were giving you the run too,
Yeah, yeah.
But you were going off, and then the next play, you kind of came down and just did a reverse in the middle, like double pump.
And
Boom.
that's notorious. Everyone who saw me play knows.
Oh, that was like sick, brother. I was like,
Yeah.
yo, we looked at each other and we're like, yo, this guy is tough. Now that you see that transition, because now these young kids they have millionaire friends that are
Yeah.
actually playing pro.
Yes.
That was totally non-existent back in the day. Like, knowing somebody got 200 million or knowing somebody got 30 million, understanding that level. So tell me, like, certain things you see the difference then, like just when it was changing to now, because you're in it.
Through my academy, I've had 3 guys. RJ Barrett, Josh Primo, Kyle Alexander. RJ, because Rowan, his dad, brought him to me at 11.
Right.
Josh Primo, who got drafted by the San Antonio Spurs. His dad brought him to me when he was 9.
Mhm.
Kyle Alexander, son of Joe Alexander, is also a Toronto legend. They brought him to me at 16.
Mhm.
And all those kids, and then all of a sudden I saw RG at Duke. Then I seen Josh at Alabama and he's killing as a freshman. And I see Kyle playing at Tennessee. I'm thinking, I get to go home and watch kids that I work with on CBS.
What was that feel, brother?
Insane. Then they got drafted, and then RJ is with the Knicks, and Josh is with San Antonio, and then Kyle went with Miami Heat, and I'm thinking, this is crazy. And so it becomes addictive. You're like, to be a part of that, and it's big time. Yeah.
What do they say to some of these kids and how they handle social media? Because I'm thinking back then, I'm playing high school ball and we're at a level, we're good. And then you have 400 people telling you, yo, you should have passed the ball. Like your shit, like going off like that. How do they deal with that? Like we've never seen that kind of thing, but how do they deal with it?
I couldn't tell you. All I know is the real good ones don't do social media. I didn't play basketball to be popular, man. I'm trying to kill everybody, man. You know?
Yeah.
I want to see how far I can get with basketball.
Right.
I don't think I would have did social media.
But you had the mindset, like, even though, you may not know what was ended, you still wanted to take it to the highest level.
Oh, man. I love basketball, and I love people getting it. You know, if I see a guy who's going to be a good businessman, I'm like, yo, man, keep doing your thing. You know, I have a friend that he always loved the stats and all this stuff. And I say, yo, you know what, man? You could be a commentator. I want everyone to reach their potential. I had all these guys in Malton that was behind me, and I'd come back in town. I'd be like, just sit each one down.
Yeah.
And be like, okay, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to, and they can tell you that.
Right.
I love basketball, man.
All right,
You guys
that's amazing.
get it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So that's the pure love. And the road wasn't that easy into
Nah.
making that transition from a player to now being an entrepreneur and mentor. And
It's really gratifying. I get a lot of time with my family. I got a lot of time to do a lot of things. So if you don't put your heart into it, that's what you get in the end.
Right.
It's just like basketball. If you don't practice hard, that's what you get in the end. It's the same thing. If I don't put my work into it, well, how am I supposed to get my business running? So I put my work into it. And when I get on the floor, any parent that's been in the gym, see me, they'll be like, yeah, this guy loves this thing.
So this is I Quit My Job podcast. It's a very unique and special one. Right beside me, the legend, Canadian legend, top 1-2. That argument never end. The LeBron, Michael Jordan, you know what I mean? That's shout out to Phil Dix, But I appreciate you, man, Bobby Allen, for coming on. This is amazing. I'm glad you opened up a bit.
No problem.
And Bogey +1. Peace.